Alright, picture this. It's the late 2000s. You're walking through an Acura dealership. Everywhere you look, there are quiet luxury sedans with leather seats, wood trim, and that same luxury vibe every mid-2000s car had. And then, sitting in the corner, is this unassuming four-door sedan that looks like it belongs to a business executive. But under the hood, it's hiding almost 300 horsepower, a 6-speed manual, Brembo brakes, and a limited slip differential. There it is, the TL Type S. That's right, the brand everyone knows for smooth, sensible luxury, quietly built a sports sedan with real bite, and hardly anyone talks about it and still is. One of the most underrated performance sedans of its era. Let's talk about why the TL Type S deserves way more respect than it ever got. When the third generation TL launched in 2004, it was a hit. Sharp design, tech-packed interior, and Honda reliability. It was one of their best-selling models ever. But by 2007, they wanted something that could stand toe-to-toe with the BMW 3 Series and Infiniti G35. They needed something that wasn't just comfortable, it had to move. So they brought back the Type S badge, and for those who know Honda, that badge actually means something. It's not just a trim level, it's a statement. It means sharper handling, more power, and the kind of subtle aggression only enthusiasts notice. Under the hood sat the J35A8, a 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6 borrowed and tweaked from the RL. It made 286 horsepower at 6,200 RPM and 256 pound-feet of torque at 5,000. It wasn't turbocharged, it wasn't overcomplicated, just a classic Honda engine that loved to rev and sounded amazing doing it. And here's where things get interesting. They gave you a choice between a 5-speed automatic with paddle shifters or a 6-speed manual. But the manual wasn't just there for show. It came with a limited slip differential and closer ratios for real driver engagement. In other words, if you bought a manual TL Type S, you weren't just buying luxury, you were buying involvement. This was one of the last mid-size luxury sedans you could get with a manual transmission. Even back then, that was rare. Today, it's basically extinct. Performance-wise, the TL Type S could sprint from 0 to 60 in around 5.5 seconds. Not far behind the BMW 335i of the time, but straight-line numbers don't tell the whole story. The magic was in how it felt. They retuned the suspension with stiffer springs and shocks, upgraded the bushings, and gave it beefier anti-roll bars. The steering was tight, communicative, and surprisingly weighty for a front-wheel drive car. And then there were the brakes, 4-piston Brembos up front, capable of stopping this 3,600-pound sedan with ease. If you stomped on the gas in first gear, you'd get torque steer. That little tug at the wheel that reminds you all 286 horses are pulling from the front, but it gave the car personality. It wasn't clinical like a BMW, it was alive, a bit wild, and unapologetically front-wheel drive. Visually, the TL Type S didn't need to shout. It had just enough subtle aggression to let people know it wasn't a regular TL. You got a darker grille, quad exhaust tips, small Type S badges, and 17-inch 10-spoke wheels wrapped in summer performance tires. Subtle changes, but they gave the car presence, the kind that only real enthusiasts pick up on. Inside, they nailed the balance between sport and luxury. You had beautifully bolstered leather sports seats with Type S stitched into the headrests, brushed aluminum accents, carbon look trim, and red backlighting on the gauges. It was all business but still classy. The steering wheel felt great, the shifter was tight and mechanical, and everything you touched felt like it came from a brand that actually cared about quality. This was a driver's car hiding inside a luxury suit, the kind of car you could take to work every day, sit in traffic with the AC on, and then take the long way home just because the engine begged you to. And that engine, the 3.5-liter V6, is one of those power plants that just gets better with age. It's smooth, linear, and has that signature Honda character. It's the kind of motor that makes you downshift just to hear it sing again. Now let's talk about what makes the TL Type S such a killer platform today, the mods. See, from the factory, this thing was already quick and composed, but once you start tuning it, it becomes a completely different animal. The J35 V6 responds insanely well to a few smart upgrades. Intake, headers, and exhaust wake it right up, freeing up that classic Honda bark while adding some real mid-range punch. Add a tune from Vit Viper or P2R and suddenly feels like it should have left the factory with another 30 horsepower. Then there's the suspension. Throw on a set of coilovers and the TL Type S transforms from comfy cruiser to canyon weapon. Combine that with upgraded sway bars and a front strut brace, and it starts carving corners like it weighs a few hundred pounds less. If you really want to go all in, people have been swapping the 3.7-liter J37 from the TLSH, or even supercharging the stock motor with a Comtech kit, pushing over 400 horsepower while keeping daily drivability. It's that perfect mix of refinement and ridiculousness. And the best part, you don't have to break the bank. With used prices hovering around the low teens, you can grab one, put $5,000 into mods, and end up with something that'll shock cars twice its price. This is where the TL Type S shines. It's not about chasing trends or flexing badges. It's about balance. That sweet spot where performance, comfort, and character all come together in a car that still feels special every time you drive it. Of course, no early 2000s performance sedan is perfect. Let's talk weak spots. First, that front-wheel drive layout. Enthusiasts will always debate whether it limited the car's full potential. And they're right. A rear drive setup would have made it even better. But for most people, the TL Type S handled incredibly well for what it was. Then there's the torque steer. It's real. Drop the clutch too hard and you'll feel the wheel twist in your hands. Some find it annoying, others find it charming. Next up, maintenance. Like most Hondas, the engine is solid, but things like motor mounts, suspension bushings, and transmission synchros can wear over time, especially on high-mileage manuals. If you're looking for one today, finding a well-maintained example with a full service history is key. And lastly, rarity. Unfortunately, they didn't build a ton of manual TL Type S models. Between 2007 and 2008, production numbers were relatively low, and most buyers went for the automatic. So finding a clean, low-mile manual today, that's becoming tough. But here's where it gets interesting. The legacy. The TL Type S was one of the last true expressions of what made them special. A brand that once lived in this perfect middle ground between Honda's reliability and performance and luxury refinement. It wasn't just about premium badges or high horsepower. It was about engineering, balance, feel. This car carried that DNA. It reminded people that Honda could build something as refined as a BMW, as dependable as a Honda, and as exciting as anything wearing an S badge. Without the TL Type S, we might not have seen the revival of Type S models in recent years. Like the new TLX Type S, those cars owe their existence to what they started back then. And the best part? These cars are still a killer deal today. You can find clean examples of the TL Type S for under 10 grand, sometimes less if you're lucky. But here's the catch. Most of those are automatics. If you want the real experience, the 6-speed manual with the limited slip, expect to pay a premium, because enthusiasts know what they're worth. For under $15,000 though, you're getting a luxury sedan with 286 horsepower, a screaming V6, Brembos, a manual gearbox, and reliability that makes its German rivals look fragile. That's ridiculous value. If you want a balanced, reliable, and surprisingly fun daily that flies under the radar, the TL Type S hits that sweet spot. It's classy enough to take on a date, practical enough for daily commuting, and fun enough to make you take the scenic route every single time. So, was the TL Type S a real rival to the Germans? In some ways, yes. It didn't have rear-wheel drive or turbocharged power, but it had something just as important: soul. It was a car that combined Honda's passion for driving with their obsession for comfort and quality. It wasn't the fastest, the flashiest, or the most expensive, but it was honest. A driver's car built for people who love the feel of a good gearbox, the sound of a high-revving V6, and the satisfaction of nailing a perfect corner in something no one expects. That's what makes it special. The 2007 to 2008 TL Type S wasn't trying to impress anyone. It just was. A grown-up performance sedan that could carve up a mountain road one day and glide through downtown the next, all while wearing a subtle badge that only real car people recognize. So yeah, maybe it never got the spotlight it deserved, but the people who've driven one, they know. What do you think? Was the TL Type S one of the last true driver's sedans? Or just a cool footnote in Honda's history? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's settle it. And if you enjoyed this dive into one of the best-kept secrets, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more underrated car spotlights, and ring the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Because trust me, you're going to want to see the next one.